The photography in this film is German Expressionist, so he worked with that. This thing came out in 1948, and it's going to be his last studio-backed film for 10 years. Next one would be 1958, and he did Touch of Evil. The reason why he does not get the support that he used to have is because, of course, Citizen King and the pressure that Hearst put on the various studios at that time. Had practically no money doing this. A friend of his got a hold of Republic Pictures to produce this film, which is mostly known for its B-westerns. And they decided they want to raise their level up, raise their status up a little higher, doing both Shakespeare and a Orson Welles. So they agreed to do it, but under certain conditions. The cost is going to be between $500,000 to $700,000. They do it within less than a month, 23 days. And if anything costs over $700,000, it's going to come out of Wells' pocket. He decided to go ahead and do this because what he wanted to do was produce a Shakespearean play that would reach everybody, the common man at this point. America has been really, really bad producing Shakespeare at this point. So he decided to do this as both a dark Gothic film and something that was an adventure. What's interesting about this film also is the actors in which he got into it. If you look at the screen, you see the Mercury Theater as part of the cast involved. The Mercury Theater goes back to the 1930s when he did the first plays up in New York, which consist of Joseph Cotton, Agnes Moorehead, Ray Collins. And at the same time as doing the plays in New York, he was also doing radio programs. I think it was the first Shadow. He was Lamont Cranston, Agnes Moorehead was Margaret Lake. So he was doing these various radio programs and doing the plays all about the same time running around town. He was commissioned also at the time of the Mercury Theater to do a series of literary radio programs about 1938, starting in the songs like Treasure Island, Les Miserables, and this led into the October presentation of War of the Worlds. This is what we're known for in this case. And from that he became a celebrity. Doing this, afterwards he went out to Hollywood, produced two really strong films, RKO, Magnificent Amberson, and Citizen Kane, which is where he got into trouble. It wasn't so much the insult to Hearst that Hearst got angry about, but the insult to his married ladies and not right. And from that, he blacklisted Wells from that point on, calling him a communist. I don't think anybody bought the idea of a communist idea, but whatever Hearst said, people who made back or made his films. So here he is trying to succeed, trying to make these movies. I think he made a few films prior to this, completely from Shanghai, and The Stranger, I think, was one particular scene. But this is the last of the major studio films of 1948. He did this pretty well. If you look at the film carefully, the sets inside castles, it's pretty cave-like. And I think it looks really surrealistic and I think it functions very well. The costumes we mentioned earlier is from Western costumes. And he had to rent the costumes each day, go out and pick up what he could. The crowns in this thing do vary. Most of the crowns are fine. The one at the very end where he goes to battle is the one with spikes coming out. Looks like something from a statue of Liberty. It's pretty bad. And he even hates it. Even the costumes he rented, they went along with it anyway. The actors in this are pretty good. This is the first time I think Jeanette Nolan recognized her television programs and radio programs. This is her first film she did. You're going to say introducing Jeanette Nolan. It's also going to have Dan Hurley. He played Blackie in Failsafe, that whole fighting sequence. He plays Macbeth. This is his first American film. He was from Ireland, did American theater. He was introduced to us in this particular film. Ronnie McDowell plays Malcolm, son of Duncan, King Duncan. I think he's in his teens, where he's doing this. And the interesting actor here we're going to see is Ellen Napier. You recognize him from Batman TV, Get Out. He's also the doctor in The Uninvited. He's a friend of Bruce Hussey in this case. He plays the Holy Father. He plays a monk, which is a combination of probably three characters in the actual play. He looks like a Viking. He carries a sword, there's a lot of hacking and slashing in this. What's interesting in the play itself, and in this movie I want to look at, is that they introduce both the old ways, the pagan witch belief, and Christianity. And Snidey Martinez towards the old ways. The sisters in this are called Weird Sisters. It's from the Old English word W-Y-R-D, which means fortune. W-E-I-R-D is the Scots term, which also means fortune. It doesn't mean strange or peculiar. And what they will do will predict the future by whatever they throw in the cauldron and so on. What Shakespeare did, have them predict, tell the whole plot of the play at the very beginning. So he learns, Macbeth learns, what his future is going to hold, becoming king of Scotland, and what he has to be scared of, and what he'd be afraid of, and probably close to his demise. As I said, you'll see the witches in the beginning, which who are afraid of Macbeth, which is rather interesting, and he's afraid of them. You also see what ghosts, you think of ghosts, you go to the stations today, you want to take a look at it. Beheadings, heads on pikes, as I said, the new big one. The storyline has been condensed. You have to make this to 107 minutes instead of a 2-hour play. So what he did is he keeps the script of Shakespeare that telescopes it to make it work as a major motion picture for Americans. It works, I think, as a very good film, but it's not necessarily the complete version. There have been other versions since then I would recommend. What's interesting after this film is that he stops being part of the studio, becomes one of the first independent filmmakers, which is something new and pretty interesting at the time, because most people would be afraid to even try this if the studio system's that strong. Being that way, he was able to produce some rather interesting films. He did another Shakespeare, Othello, and in the early 60s he did a third one called Chimes at Midnight, which is based upon Sir John Falstaff of Henry I and II. Henry V, I and II. I'm sorry, it was, yeah, 1 and 2. So that was done in Spain with British actors. Highly recommend seeing that. Touch of Evil is the first film he came back in. It's because of John Heston, of all people. Yeah. He said, I won't do this film unless you bring back Wells and make him direct this film. And this is what he did. It's a dark Gothic film as well. It's sort of a film in Mexico, I believe, in this case.
Classic opening scene.
Yeah. So it's something that will come back for him in that case. This is also, I think, the beginning of this film is the best scene, I think, in many ways, where the witches find him coming to produce this image in clay. You'll see that. It's going to be a good scene. Also in this, you'll see one of the most interesting things. It's the coming of the forest from Vernon County. One of the things the witches predict in this is when his demise will come, is when the entire forest will come upon the castle. It sounds like something from Lord of the Rings, so you see how they handle it, what they do with this. I think it works. It has its flaws. You look at, like, look at a crown, all this kind of stuff. But as a film, it does work. I think it's kind of fun to watch. I brought in because it's different. It's because it is Gothic. It's kind of interesting to watch. Of course, anything else I want to say that, I think it's pretty much it in that case. Just going to see what it looks like. Now, this is a South Korean film. We have to get rid of the subtitles in the beginning. It's all in Korean. So everything else is spoken in English. It looks like a regular American DVD. The quality's pretty good, I think. Okay, so you have a question?
Yeah, where was it filmed?
Where was it filmed?
Here.
In California. The sets, you look outside, Scotland looks a lot like California. I think a lot of films did that back then for budgetary reasons. Very low budget. What he was able to do with this, it's pretty good. The set inside, I think, sound studios. Most of it's done in sound studios. And I think they do a pretty good job with what they do with darkness.
Now, what studio?
Republic Pictures. This is considered a step down mark. This is low budget stuff. They do a lot of early B-westerns. That's what they do. Early Saturday morning stuff.
And how was it received?
When it came out, the critics panned it. But they would pan it, I think, because of what we were trying to do anyway. There's been very few Shakespeare films we could do. I think the last one was Midsummer's Night in the late 30s. It was pretty. Some people like it. Max Reinhardt did he did the play in Europe, so they thought bringing back into New York, the play in New York, the special effects are pretty cool. Let's do a film. Only they couldn't get Shakespearean actors. They were afraid of doing that, so they got popular Dick Powell, Mickey Rooney, Joey Brown, these people like that, Olivia de Havilland, Jimmy Cagney, and these guys are good actors, but they're not Shakespearean actors, and they just kind of like weren't comfortable with the material, and it's panned in England. They really thought it was good. Yeah, special effects, and that's the best, I think, of that. To see what he did with this, and Victor Drury, he plays a whole board. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see.
He also played Catwoman of the Moon.
There you go. That's the end of this film. You'll see that. It's not. I think it's kind of cool to watch. Watch it. I pass the plot lines around to see. It's pretty basic storyline of Rise of Power. You'll see his rise of power. You see him slowly breaking down due to paranoia and fear, and you'll see what he does to his friends and everybody else. The tragedy in this, of course, I'll tell you briefly the situation that they kill King Duncan. He's murdered flat out.
Oh, no, one of the two.
Well, this is the beginning of the movie. We have to find out the rest of it. Okay. And what's left is Macbeth and Malcolm of Blingford to go to England. So you'll see how that rises in power and the tragedy that occurs to Macbeth. And it's a tragedy. It's a comedy. It is a comedy. So we see it. It is a horror comedy. So it is an interesting in that sense. Take a look at it. You'll recognize some of the sayings in this, and of course, as the witches say in this case, by the pricking of my thumb, something wicked is going to
Bubble, bubble, boil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, pour in cow's blood that hath eaten her 9 farrow.